And today's final question comes in from Randall. Hi there, Randall. Thanks for your question here. Randall says, we are looking to exchange contracts in 2 weeks, and we need to sort out a removals firm. We held back because we didn't have the date until now. First of all, where is the best place to go and find a firm? How would we know what size van they would need? Do they pay a visit beforehand? We're moving from a 2-bed terrace, but also have extra big items such as garden furniture. Consider roughly how much would you typically pay for removals? Okay, great question, Randall. Thanks for that. So to help you out on this one, if I were in your shoes, Randall, what I would do is I would do a quick internet search, but I would search for removals companies in, and then use the county that you're actually in rather than necessarily the town, because it will open up a wider geographic search. And unless you're in a bigger city like London or Birmingham or Manchester, for example, your geographical search will expand to the point where there will be more listings that will show up. And then I would contact at least 3 of them to get quotes from all 3. So ideally, whenever I'm doing anything like this, I always like to try and get 3 quotes. And the reason for that is so I can compare and contrast rather than just getting 2, which means I've got a choice of either or. The third is usually my yardstick as to whether or not, certain things are being included. And what I find with these sorts of things is that the more people you speak to, the more you learn, the more people will flag up certain things that might be something that you hadn't thought about. And as a consequence, you can then take that into your decision-making process as to which is the best way to go. All right. So I would ring around, get 3 quotes, compare what they're telling you. And usually what you'll find is that at least 1 or 2 of them will actually want to come out and look at the property and see what they're actually packing up and moving. Because again, you need to decide, do you want a full service, as in somebody will come in, box everything up for you, and then move it for you, which is going to require a little bit of a lead in? Or do you just want somebody to move all the stuff because you've packed it all up in boxes? And obviously the cost differential between those 2 will vary massively. Okay, they will then be able to estimate very carefully as to what size van will be required based on all of the stuff that you're moving. The reason I'm slightly smiling here, Randall, is because I was in a not too dissimilar situation to you when I moved house. What is it now? 3 moves ago. And I was coming out of a 2-bed property, and I'd spoken to a couple of people about getting removals quotes. And one guy had spoken to me, and he just knew exactly what he was talking about. He'd been in the game for many, many years. He said, yeah, I can definitely do the move on that date for you. And he said, yeah, I know exactly what size van you'll need, because it's he'd made an estimation on it being a 2-bed terrace property, is exactly the same as yours. And what they underestimated was that for anybody who's seen any of my earlier videos, you'll know I'm a bit of a reader. And the biggest thing for them to move was actually my book collection, believe it or not. So I packed up a lot of these books, and I'd actually secured some. And here's a great tip for you if you're thinking about moving. A lot of people go to these storage companies to get cardboard boxes and all the rest of it. Whereas, obviously, because I like to protect the environment, it's not because I'm cheap at all. It's not because of that reason. But I went to Tesco's, believe it or not, and I said, to the guys there, do you have any boxes that will be suitable for moving house? And they were actually unloading a load of toys that were on display, and they came in these beautifully thick cardboard boxes that were just perfect for moving house. But they're not perfect if you're filling them full of books, because they weigh an absolute ton. So these poor guys turned up. I think it was a Saturday morning when we'd moved, and these 2 guys turned up, and I could tell at least one of them had been out on the sherbets the night before. They'd had a few beers. And so they turn up in this van, and I look at it, and I'm like, yeah, they'll get everything in that van. And they start loading up, and they start taking one box after another, after another, after another of these books. And they weighed an absolute ton. And I didn't realize, because I'm, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, reasonably fit and strong and able, right? So I was just packing these boxes of books up and then lugging them around. And I'd done most of the work in terms of getting them all ready to go out of the front of the house as soon as possible. And these poor guys, about halfway through the move, you could just tell they were absolutely exhausted. And they were like, I didn't realize you got so many books. And this van was literally on its axles when it was actually moving. So that I think they were surprised at all of that. But Yeah, from your point of view, I don't know whether you've got things like that or whether you mentioned you've got things like your garden furniture to move, but I would imagine a fair-sized box van will get most of this done, perhaps with a tail lift or not, as the removals company will determine. And in terms of costs for you, Randall, I would expect, depending upon where you are in the country, I'm going to say anywhere between sort of 550 to 750 plus VAT is the sort of broad cost range, as I say, depending upon where you are in the country, and also, of course, how far you're moving. You know, if you're moving around the corner, there's a lot less fuel costs involved. If you're moving from one end of the country to the other, that was probably going to be the biggest issue in terms of cost and potentially overnight accommodation for the removals guys if they've got a long distance to move you. So hope that gives you some kind of steer on what you need to do. As I say, I always get 3 quotes on something like this. You can get 4 or 5; it's entirely up to you. But it sounds like you need to crack on with it because you've only got a couple of weeks before you need to move. And yeah, the one thing I will say to you, based on your question, Randall, is to try and get a couple of weeks between exchange and completion. So you say you're going to exchange contracts in 2 weeks. I would see if you can do exchange in 2 weeks and then complete in 2 weeks. That will give you the certainty that you know everything's going to go ahead in 2 weeks' time. There's not going to be any holdups, because sometimes I have known situations where people have lined up exchange and completion on the same day. And as a consequence, when it comes to the exchange of contracts, that doesn't happen for whatever reason. There's a complication, which means the completion doesn't happen. And as a consequence, all of your removals and things like that that were booked all goes out the window, and that causes you a bit of a headache. So definitely look at doing things along those lines, Randall. Hope that helps you out, and wishing you the very best of luck moving into your new home. Hope you're very happy there. All right. So, guys and girls, thank you for all of your amazing questions. Really appreciate you sending them through. As always, if you've got any questions, concerns, comments, feedback, please feed them through to us. The email address is happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. That's happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. You can also view past webinars and individual questions from past webinars on our website. If you go to wiggywam.co.uk, that's wiggywam.co.uk, and click on the broadcasts section at the top of the menu bar there, you'll get access to all of the previous editions of these webinars that we've done if you're finding them useful and helpful, or if you've got any feedback at all, you can feed that back through us through the website. And you can also, there's options for, depending upon who you are, whether you're an estate agent, conveyancer, removals company, surveyor, any of those people, you can have options to join WiggyWam and join the WiggyWam community and deliver your excellent services to our user database there as well. You can also get in contact with us through Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at WiggyWam_UK. That's at WiggyWam_UK. And as always, we welcome any kind of questions, comments, feedback from our WiggyWam community, you amazing guys and girls out there who are supporting the revolution in the property market. And as always, if you would be so kind as to share this with your friends and family, if you want to invite them to a future webinar in the future, we'd love to see you here live, or by all means, you can share this information with them if they're thinking about moving house. As you know, let them know that we're here as a resource that they can tap into and plug into with any of the questions or concerns that they may have. All right. And don't forget, with Christmas just around the corner, get yourself a copy of Home Buyer's Secrets, or pass this on to anybody who you know is looking to move home over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. It's an invaluable resource, even if I do say so myself. I put my heart and soul into this book, and I firmly believe it's there as a guide to really help and support anybody who's looking to move, to help you negotiate a great deal on your next home, to help protect your interests in terms of things going wrong, and they always do when it comes to buying or selling property. Your entire journey is mapped out within this book, and it's really going to help you. So, as I say, homebuyerssecrets.co.uk is the website where you can grab a copy of that book. Also, get access to the online training course as a point of value for getting that book as well. So, thanks ever so much indeed for joining us here, guys. I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar very, very soon indeed. And I'm going to say good night and God bless you all, and look forward to seeing you again soon. All right, you take care. Bye bye.